The Atacama Desert. It's the driest place on Earth. It's wide open, barren, but full of secrets. Before returning to Bolivia from Chile, we're making a detour to the coast to soak up a little seawater and find a few of the desert gems this part of the world is hiding. We've got a few days of the driest landscape we've ever seen, so buckle up and let's roam. Some roads don't simply exist on a map. They live in your mind, calling to you in your sleep, filling your thoughts at work. The Pan American Highway, a road spanning the length of North and South America, a 30,000-kilometer road trip through more than 15 countries, is that road for us. Life to us is nothing more than a collection of moments, and we want to fill our moments with adventure. So for 18 months, we'll be driving south from Tucteacta, Canada, all the way to Ushuaia, Argentina. From the Arctic to the Andes, through deserts, jungles, and the unknown, we'll live and wander in our self-built adventure mobile, seeking stories, chasing landscapes, and redefining what it means to us to be modern-day explorers. This is our journey. Well, this is certainly not something you expect to find in the driest desert in the world. Somehow, we've stumbled upon a little desert oasis just north of the city of Calama. After our off-road route from Arica, we were shaken to pieces and in need of a little bit of R&R. We gave ourselves 2 nights and 1 day. That's it. The desert in Altiplano, as we're discovering, are hard places to exist. Continuous dust, dry air, high elevation, utter lack of water, scorching sun, and relentless road corrugations are an excellent recipe for mental strain. With plans for at least 2 more long and extremely remote off-road routes ahead, we're keeping our pace and aiming to complete them as quickly as possible so we can return to the Chilean coast south of Santiago and take a rather leisurely 3 months to complete the remainder of the Pan American Highway to Ushuaia. There are a couple pins on my map that I'd like to see down by the coast near Antofagasta, and today we're heading there.
Well, hey there folks, how y'all doing? Welcome back to the Slow Roamers channel. We've been parked up in this spot for 2 nights and a day, and today we're going to head down to the coast to the Antofagasta area, and we're going to see one thing that is not very well known and another thing that is quite well known.
Yes.
Yeah. We're going to stop off in Calama where Meg gets to go to Jumbo.
Again, yay!
Her
Jumbo!
favorite grocery store in Chile, and then yeah, we should be arriving at the coast in just a few hours. But we got to get out of this spot first, so let's do it.
There's not really any interesting off-road routes to take to get us to the coast from here, and honestly, that's okay. The section of desert we're about to pass through between Calama and La Negra is likely one of the most punishing, sun-scorched regions we've seen to date. It's bleak and not much to look at, so we're happy to move through it quickly. Aside from the desert out here, there is Calama, and the only reason Calama exists is likely due to the heavy industrial presence in the area.
Look at that piece of machinery. I think that's an excavator.
Is it a boat?
No, it's a Traco. That thing's giant. Holy smokes! Wow, that is big.
Do you want one?
Yeah, obviously.
Can we get it?
Whoa! It's so big.
In short, mining and energy. There are plenty of minerals in the ground, lots of wind to power turbines, and lots of sun for solar panels.
What the heck? What? Holy smokes, babe! Did you see that?
Yes, I saw it.
Holy smokes!
Everything is done big out here. The equipment is bigger, the wind turbines are bigger, and the factories, refineries, and plants are plentiful and, you guessed it, bigger. It's all very impressive in a post-apocalyptic kind of way.
All right, so we have ventured out all this way into the Atacama Desert to find something that I found on the internet a few months ago and went on a hunt to find out where the heck it is, and I found it. So today we're gonna go check out a tank graveyard, and I don't know the exact history of it, but the short story is that the Chilean government purchased a whole bunch of Sherman tanks from the US military shortly after World War II. They re-equipped the tanks with bigger guns, and then I guess nothing happened. They decommissioned them, parked them out in the desert, and used them for target practice. And you can drive out to them. I think there's like 6 or 7 Sherman tanks. And I just thought it'd be really cool to come out into the desert and see what that looks like. So that's what we're gonna go see.
I'm sure you've heard someone say everything is always changing, which is of course a beautiful cliche, but cliches are cliches because they're true. And in the case of the Pan American Highway, everything is always changing. What road conditions and political climates existed the year before no longer exist today. What prices one traveler paid for some attraction or a tank of gas a month ago can easily change in the following month. Seasons change, rules change, access to things changes. Our journey down the Pan Am will be significantly different from those who follow us mere months behind, as has ours from those months before us. Everything is always changing, and today we'll discover some of that change.
Well, this is a giant letdown. We've gotten out here. We should have driven past at least like 4 tanks by now, but they're all gone. And there's like tracks for heavy equipment everywhere. So my guess is in the last month or so, the military came out here and removed all the tanks. Because we are technically in a live fire area, meaning that there are possibly non-expended rounds in the ground, explosive rounds. That's why we're sticking to the roads and like the well-trodden path, but yeah. Man, that sucks. What a letdown. Holy heck, it's the Pacific Ocean again.
Not being people to discourage too quickly, we simply pressed on, and luckily for us, we were already on the route that would take us to a small beach tucked into the Chilean coastal cliffs. What lay ahead would quickly take on a veil of familiarity. It was like we were returning somewhere that we hold dear and dream of returning to. Soon, the big blue stretched out before us, and sun-soaked desert cliffs climbed out of the water. Memories of color-soaked sunsets and roaring wind crept into our thoughts. As we approached the sandy beach, I told Meg to punch it to get us over the sand. I had most of my focus on the drone and couldn't get a feel for the consistency of the sand as we dove headlong into the beach and immediately got stuck. Luckily, we were out quickly with a little finessing, but free movement on the sand would be a short-lived state of being.
What made you decide to go that way?
I wanted to turn around.
Oh. Just love doing this sort of stuff to ourselves, eh? We haven't been on the road for 7.5 hours or anything.
If you hadn't caught on yet, it was feeling a lot like we were back in Baja, going out onto the beaches, getting stuck, airing down, shoveling, and overall having fun in the sun.
It's really, really clean.
It's really, really cold.
Well, babe, we've got a seaside spot. You've made a delicious meal. Mm-hmm. We've got a hazy lager, whatever that is. And we got each other.
Oh, each other. That's the best part.
Yeah.
Despite our looming timeline for the next overland routes, we simply couldn't say no to spending a full day on the beach. It was such a peaceful spot, and we pretty much had it all to ourselves. We sat and watched as seals chased fish out in the cove and listened to waves crash on the sand. I'll never cease to be amazed by the calming effect of the sound of water. We may have been frazzled after our long off-road trip to get this far south, but we'd be leaving feeling a little less so with the welcome and consistent gurgle of the creek we stayed beside before and the lulling waves here on the coast. You want to know one thing about this place that is definitely not like Baja? How cold the water is. From way down south in the southern ocean near Antarctica, the Humboldt Current brings cold and nutrient-rich water along the western coast of South America and actually accounts in part for the existence of the Atacama Desert. The sun was blistering hot, but we still couldn't stay in the water for too long.
So you may notice that we're in a different spot than we were when we went to sleep last night. In typical Latin American fashion, it was about 9:30 last night and 3 vehicles rolled in. And despite the fact that there's an entire beach available, they came and parked about maybe 15 feet behind the van, set up their camp, started playing loud music and shining their lights into the back of the van. It's just one of those like cultural norm clashes that happens. You know, if it was North America, I think for the most part, other campers would see us and be like, oh, we don't want to be close to them, so we'll go and drive to the other end of the beach. We find with Latin Americans, they seem to gravitate to other people, and it happens pretty much in every single country. It's happened to us a lot in Baja, and we just kind of learned that on the weekends you go inland, you don't go to the beaches, because guaranteed you're going to wind up with someone camped right beside you, which is like uncomfortable for North Americans, but yeah, Latin Americans don't seem to have that kind of hang up, so it happens quite often. So after the music started and we were like, well, they're probably going to be going to bed at some time around 1 or 2 or something, we just started up the van and drove up the hill. And that's the beauty of having a van, is that you can just, all I had to do was grab the shovel and then yeah, just start the van, and we drove up the hill and went to sleep. So yeah, just one of those little things about traveling in a different country. You encounter those cultural norms that are very different from your own, and you just have to kind of become used to it and learn how to adapt.
All right, so seeing as it is December 20th, Christmas is in 4 days. 5 days? 4 days?
Do you know what day Christmas is on,
No,
sweetie?
I do really poorly with dates.
He asked me what month it was this morning.
Yeah. It's just what happens when you're on the road for 3 years.
Is it?
Yes. Okay, so because Christmas is getting so close and we need to get back into Bolivia before Christmas, just because we figure that everything's going to be shut down, we're going to kind of hightail it away from the coast. We're going today to go see the Hand of the Desert. And then we got like a 4-hour drive to get back to San Pedro de Atacama, where we'll
see some sights and then cross into Bolivia.
Yeah, that's what's gonna happen, and then we'll spend a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks in Bolivia.
Christmas and New Year's probably.
Yeah. Wild. All right, let's go.
Honey, we've found a big hand in the desert.
Who put that there?
Whoa.
Pretty cool.
Rising from the floor of the Atacama, the Hand of the Desert is an 11-meter-tall concrete sculpture created in 1992 by Chilean artist Mario Irrazabal. Located near the Pan-American Highway outside of Antofagasta, it was designed to present human vulnerability and isolation, standing as a solitary landmark in one of the driest and most extreme environments on Earth. This is one of those landmarks I had been wanting to go to for ages, and here we are, finally parked right beside it.
We only waited there for like 45 minutes for the stream of tourists to clear
Surely
out.
not.
It was a long time. As soon as we arrived at the Hand, just like a continuous chain of people just started rolling in behind us. It was just like, oh, come on. And there's like 2 guys in a tour bus that drove up to the Hand to get a photo of their tour bus in front of the Hand. And they were there for like a solid 15 minutes, just like taking photos of themselves. It was pretty funny.
I think your concept of time is skewed
No, I think
because
yours
of
is.
how antsy you got.
Anyway, we got the photos, we got the shots. So now we got like a 4-hour drive to get back to San Pedro de Atacama. Let's go. Okay, we've been driving for an hour, but we haven't done this in a while.
Alex needed some pick-me-ups.
Snack roulette. This is called a hobby, and Meg says it's the Snickers knockoff from Chile.
We liked them in Colombia. Besties?
Besties were really good in Colombia. All right, look at that. It's like a little chocolate log. Yeah, it's just Snickers.
Yeah. It's
They're really good, actually.
It's a nice size.
Slightly different taste than Snickers. Less like super chocolatey. It's kind of like a little bit more milk. There you go. Hobby. Get yourself a Chilean hobby.
Another 3 or 4 hours back through the desert, and we were finally making our way down towards San Pedro de Atacama. We'd be visiting a couple spots here in this massive depression in the earth before wrapping up our short detour and heading back to the Altiplano. Just outside the town of San Pedro de Atacama, Valle de la Luna, the Valley of the Moon, is a surreal landscape shaped by wind, salt, and the ever-present crawl of time. Its jagged ridges, vast dunes, and layered rock formations were formed over millions of years, creating terrain so otherworldly it's often compared to the surface of the moon, hence its name. Sitting at the edge of the Atacama Desert, San Pedro serves as a quiet oasis and cultural hub, rooted in ancient Atacamano history and surrounded by some of the driest, highest, and most dramatic scenery on Earth.
Well, we have come to the magic bus attraction. It is exactly what it says it is, a magic bus. And lots of other people have found it as well. Well, if you know us well enough, this is not our speed at all. Lineups of tourists trying to take pictures is not our jam. Which means we're going to bring this almost 8-hour drive day to a close. We're going to go find camp.
We're not gonna film. We're not gonna do anything here.
Well, the beauty of being out in the middle of nowhere is you just pull off the road and camp. This place is really, really cool. I can't wait till sunset. This place is super cool. Even while I'm talking, there's like echoes throughout the whole canyon. And it's so still and so quiet here right now. I'm not going to claim to be a geologist or anything like that, but everything here is made out of
like sand and clay, and then this layered rock that looks like salt or quartz. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah. This stuff. It's probably not going to show up on camera, but it's kind of like semi-translucent. We were actually licking it yesterday to see if it was salt. But yeah, it's like in thin layers. It's really cool. Anyway, we're gonna go to a salt pond today that's a little bit further south, and take a dip in that, because apparently you can just float because the salt density is so high. Stoked for that. And then we're just gonna come back here probably. It's not gonna be a big day for us. Tomorrow is gonna be a big drive day because we gotta head back to Bolivia. See, look at this stuff. There's so many layers. If there's anyone out there that is actually a geologist, feel free to let us know what the heck this is. 11 o'clock in the morning, there's already people there. Gee whiz, never thought an old bus would attract so much attention. Well, I got the tickets.
Yeah.
We're gonna go float.
Yeah, baby.
Cool, let's go float.
No drones.
Aw, I hate that. Man.
Yeah.
Well, on our way to the swimming pools this time. This is a wild and crazy landscape. Like, look at this weird ground. Look at that. It's crazy. Oh, my old steel hip better not rushed.
Wow. Wow. That's not bad. Get used to it.
The Lagunas Escondidas de Baltanachi are a series of saltwater lagoons formed over thousands of years as water became trapped in a closed basin and slowly evaporated under the extreme conditions of the Atacama Desert. What remains is water saturated with salt and minerals, creating salinity levels even higher than the ocean. This dense, mineral-rich water makes it nearly impossible to sink, allowing you to float effortlessly on the surface, and also serves as the strangest feeling we've had the pleasure of witnessing.
Oh no, there's just rocks.
It's like trying to force my face into the water. Well, in short, that was a very interesting experience. One that I'm happy we had.
Yeah.
The level of salt, though, is just insane. Like,
Just wait until I dry.
yeah, you'll be able to
On
see
the
it on
dark
Meg a lot
skin.
more. But I'm glittering already. It's pretty wild. But that was cool. Super, super cool. All right, we're all dried out. I don't know if you can see it on video how white we are, how covered in salt. It's like,
Do it with the real camera. No.
yeah, well, I just don't want to touch it. That's the thing. This is really weather sealed, and we are covered in salt. I don't want things to rust. Well, we got our shot at the magic bus. Now that no one's here. Looky, looky what we found. Hello, friends. That's number 2 on this entire trip that we found of Destined for Wild stickers. Meg says quietly to herself, "This bus is dumb."
Why do people care about this?
The Alaska bus is way cooler.
Yeah, very.
Well, I think it's only fitting to put our sticker beside our friends here. So, Josh and Vanessa, if you're watching, friends,
Together.
together forever. All right, so we're back at camp. I'm gonna stay here tonight, and there have been some recent developments on the future of our travels, and I think that we're on plan C now for Bolivia. The original plan was, of course, to just do a week in Bolivia, go to Arica, then return and drive through the country, do a Uyuni Salt Flats, Lagunas route, etc. Plan B was what we started to execute, which was go to Arica, then travel down through Chile to San Pedro de Atacama, and then enter Bolivia from the south. But there have been some recent developments that are changing what we are likely able to do, unfortunately. So recently, I guess, fuel subsidies have been removed from Bolivians, for Bolivians. And that means that the transport truckers for fuel are striking right now. And we were intending to go from San Pedro de Atacama up the Lagunas route through Uyuni Salt Flats, and then back down on another off-road route back to San Pedro de Atacama or into Argentina. And we just got reports that every single fuel station in Uyuni is shut down, and there's massive lineups.
Except for one.
There's massive lineups at the WFPD or some acronym, but it's basically like the state-run gas station. So that means that getting fuel is going to be a real challenge in Uyuni, if we can at all.
Yeah, we think, anyways.
Yeah, I mean, the situation is not looking particularly positive right now. So Plan C is in development, and that means that we're going to double back from where we are near San Pedro de Atacama, up through Calama, up to Oasis, where there's a border crossing that comes in just south of Uyuni Salt Flats, and then we will top up with fuel in Oasis with just like people sell fuel there. There's no fuel station. It's going to be expensive, but at least we can top off our tanks completely. And then we have, like a 750, 800 kilometer range, probably more than that. And we will drive up through Uyuni Salt Flats to Uyuni, see if we can fill up, even if we can get like half a tank or something like that, just to make it more comfortable for us. And then we can actually get back down to San Pedro de Atacama after that with the fuel that we have on the van. We like I mapped it on Gaia. We know that it's 650 kilometers roughly. So yeah, we were already working on Plan C, because apparently this border crossing at San Pedro de Atacama is like extremely problematic. Yeah.
There's almost no reports of folks traveling from Chile to Bolivia. In our situation, there's some like problems with Chilean plates and stuff like that. But yeah, it's really hard to find information. Like lots of people say that you have to go to the aduana in San Pedro de Atacama and it's going to take 6 hours, blah, blah, blah. So we were already like trying to figure out if we should just skip that nonsense altogether and go back through Oasis anyways. So this isn't like...
It's not totally new for us at this point, but yeah, it's... The whole situation that's happening in Bolivia now is a new turn of events, and we're just trying to figure out how to roll with it, how to accomplish what we want to accomplish. We might not be able to do exactly what we wanted to, but ultimately I think it might be okay. This trip through Oasis will be a lot faster than if we drove up the Lagunas route and then down another one.
And easier on the van.
Yeah, and like honestly, after that route we did in Chile, like that route was really, really rough, and even the washboard that we've seen in the desert here has just already shaken a few heat shields loose. I can hear them rattling under the van.
We broke a new plate.
Broke more plates. Yeah, so the desert is definitely like kicking the crap out of Betty right now. I kind of feel bad, but and we have more off-road routes to do in Argentina before we cross back over the Andes and stick to Chile and roads for the most part. So consider yourself updated. I think we're going to be ending the video pretty quick here because we just have a really long drive day that we have to take care of tomorrow. And then we'll be bouncing back into Bolivia for another week or so. And then into Argentina, which will be the last country we need to go to.
And that's it. That's all. a quick little foray into the Atacama Desert to uncover some of its secrets. From here, we'll set out on our next big adventure, one that will be truly memorable but challenging in ways that only the desert can present. It's bound to be a grand old time. Thank you for being here along with us on this journey. We hope in some way we sparked your curiosity. Maybe you even learned something. At the very least, we hope we showed you a world worth exploring, worth protecting and valuing. Now get out and go on that next big adventure. Make the memories that stick with you, shape you, and change you. Until the next one, keep on roaming. If you would like to see behind the scenes content, get route and camp spot information, or if you'd just like to help support us by putting some gas in our tank each month, you can contribute on Patreon or through memberships on our YouTube channel. And oh hey there bud, before you go, don't forget to go on over to slowroamers.com to get yourself some rad Slow Roamers merch. We've even got some new stickers and stuff in there for ya. For additional photos and commentary on our journey, you can follow along on Facebook and Instagram. Well, Atacama Desert, I need some lotion. I am frickin' dry. Okay, see you later. Bye!